Hi, Aries. How are you? Today is Monday, February 28th. I'm sorry for the delay, but I'm also actually going to have to do next week's reading on a Monday because I'll be away for the weekend. So apologies. First things first, if you work in HR, in human resources, for a semi-large company, I would love to talk to you, like 15 minutes just to get your opinion on something. In exchange, I will provide you with a free 3-card reading on the question of your choice. If you're interested, please either leave me a comment below or you can email me at forariesonly@gmail.com. I appreciate that. Second is, whoa. So what a week, right? No astrological transits except for one major one, which was Uranus square Mercury, which we mentioned was going to be difficult, but didn't realize it was start a war difficult. Now, here's the thing that's interesting. And actually the title of last week's reading was Revolution, if you remember, and there was a Tower card at the end. So actually the reading was predicting what was going on. That's why I always look at energies, not stories, because they can really play out in lots of different ways, and you sometimes only understand tarot readings looking back retrospectively. But here's the thing, is that there was one aspect that I overlooked, and I also think that is a theme in what's going on right now. Not only for me, that I overlooked it in the reading, but also perhaps Putin overlooked some facts or some aspects in making his plan. And it also came up in the reading at the end, like towards the end, where it was like, double check your story, check your facts, don't move yet, think. Because the one thing that I overlooked was the closeness of Mars to Pluto. And that aspect perfects this week. And that is not a nice aspect. That is the Mars-Pluto conjunct is war, and not nice war, because you have the two gods of war. Pluto's like nuclear war, and Mars is, sort of regular war, heading up to each other. So that will be interesting to see what happens. The other thing that was interesting that I also missed was that the famous Tuesday, the 22nd of February 2 of 2022, on a Tuesday, and it was called a Tuesday, was the day that the US's Pluto return perfected. And we've been talking about the US Pluto return for quite some time. So Pluto was actually extra double active last week in his place, or in his energies. So I think that was kind of what was going on behind it. Now, this week we have, so there's a couple of transits that are interesting. As of today, there is, sorry, I'm just calling these up so I don't forget them this time. We have the Sun sextile Uranus on Wednesday. We have Mercury conjunct Saturn at in Aquarius. So it's like communications about getting serious about humanity. New moon in Pisces on Wednesday, conjunct Jupiter. So that's an interesting placement, because obviously Jupiter is the archaic or ancient ruler of Pisces. It's about healing, but also hospitalization. And it has an interesting sabia, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. Then on Thursday, we have Mars conjunct Pluto. So I expect that to be a very not nice day. And then also at the same time, Venus conjunct Pluto. Now, the thing is that Venus and Mars have teamed up here. So actually, Mars, who in my opinion in this case would be Ukraine, is getting an extra help from everyone else. Obviously, the Pluto is fixed, and the other people are sort of transiting through its aspect. So Venus, Mars and Venus are traveling together. So Mars has aid, assistance, and Venus is kind of like calming it down a little bit, but also providing necessary balance because the Mars and Venus are, the masculine and feminine energy traveling together. So there's really sort of unified energy against Pluto as they meet. So next week should be very interesting. And then on Saturday, March 5th, the Sun conjuncts Jupiter. So that could be a day that brings some good news. Now, all that said, the Sabian for the new moon in Pisces is, this is my notes here, is a sword in a museum, right? Which already is interesting. The sword makes us think of the Ace of Swords, which is clarity. And in a museum, the halls of history, right? Documenting history, the tales of the past. And so this is why I said that whole thing about overlooking something being crucial is that this week is really about getting clarity on, and I was about to mention this, the Destiny card. This is the next thing I was going to mention. Getting clarity on the stories of the past, right? The stories that you've been telling yourself of the past and what's really, really true and what's not true. Because in overlooking something or underestimating something that's right in front of you, right? There's a piece of information that's right in front of you that you're not paying enough attention to, could potentially be the Achilles heel in whatever plan you have going forward. Now, if we remember from the reading last week, the cards that came out of the Tower were actually quite good afterwards. I remember we had the Ace of Wands and it ended with the World card. So there's this very good, and the Fool, right? Writing a new beginning, a new era, and especially with that Pluto return there, starting a new cycle, especially for the United States. I am cautiously optimistic. Not going to say there's not going to be casualties in the middle. Obviously, the Tower card. Tower is always a tower. Again, could be a surprise. Some people would be a positive surprise. Some people would be unwanted surprise. But the Tower is always a shakeup. But the shakeup seems to end in a positive energy. So I am optimistic about that. Like I said, cautiously optimistic. The other thing about the sword in the museum, right, is like, one, taking it off the walls and into reality, because there's lots of paintings about like old battles and stuff like that. And so like actually like getting into the field, like taking action. The other is about rising to your destiny, right? I always think of like this sort of Excalibur moment, like when you grasp the sword, you like choosing to step into the role that you were destined to play. I have a friend of mine that's a very good astrologer and was looking at the Ukraine's president's chart, and he was like, this is it. This is his moment. He was born for this. This is what he was meant to do. And so there's kind of that has been coming up for the last few weeks for us also, about the universe creating a chaos moment or a conflict moment for us that's forcing us to walk away from our past and step into a new future, to really claim the destiny that's been written for us. And that's the energy that's kind of going on now. Now, with all that said, let me pull some cards. Can I get the overall energy for Aries, week of February 28th, please? Yeah, I told you, I'm like cautiously optimistic, even though nothing points to it. There's still a sense of joy. And I think there's a sense of joy for me personally, also in watching the entire world come together, which is something that I think we've all needed. The sense of solidarity, a sense that we belong to each other, the sense that we actually want to care for each other, and that we're kind of tired of people getting bullied. So there is some liberation. Like I said, Sun conjunct Jupiter is usually very good news. It's a portent of happiness or expansion or light. So the cards are saying it, not me. So joy is the energy for the week. And also maybe like if you're starting to, I've also spoken to a lot of people in my other work as well, who, you know, it's like, I didn't need this anxiety. We're just coming out of the COVID crap. And it's like, now everybody's talking about a third world war. If you are having difficulty processing this information, and basically it's like emotional waterboarding, right? Like we never get a break from the PTSD. It is so important to stay grounded and stay in your here and now. Only look at the things in front of you. Do not spend time worrying about what will or what will not happen. We will discover it soon enough. There's no need to panic about it now. So you really want to make sure that you take very good care of your mental health this week. Or not this week, but in this moment, because it could push some of us over the edge and we don't want to see that. So here's something funny. My challenge cards were the hardest to get to. So, all right, let's get the challenge for Aries for the week of February 28th. Okay. These are way too many, but we'll look at them. So we have the transformation card. This is the death card. So, and this is Pluto's card. So definitely something starting over. 6 of Wands, success. And 3 of Wands, which we also got last week, about experiencing, you know, it's about waiting for things to come to you. And so there may be, because these can always go in different ways. So there may be some challenge around this transformative event that makes you feel unsuccessful, or like somehow you're blocked, or think good things aren't coming to you. On the other hand, it can also say that there is a challenging transformation coming that will ultimately bring, you know, it's like you might not see it now, but it's coming. Because like, look at these cards, you know, and yes, this is in the challenge moment, but this is the overall energy. So we may like think that there's not, because of what all the difficulty going around, that it might not feel like a moment to be optimistic, but that would be incorrect. And like I said, the energy I keep getting, even though it's like, you know, horrifying what's happening, is still very positive. I don't know how to explain it, but let's get the lesson. What am I telling you? Infinite abundance, right? Obstacles are being removed. Spiritual support and connections are increasing. Yeah, so let me get some more cards. Especially the connections. And I kind of feel like that with the Saturn in Aquarius, the Saturn in Mercury. It's like potentially hearing or finding out who your friends are, like people coming out of the woodwork to support you. I'll take those 2. Yep. Okay, so we have the protecting treasure card and the movement card. This one was here at the end. We know I love the movement card. And so this is like, this could be like where you are right now. It's like, I'm afraid. I want to just like hold on to what I have. And this is kind of like 4 of Pentacles energy, like scared, immobile, protecting oneself. And then where we kind of come at the end of the week is a sense of movement forward, right? So, an unblocking, like things unblocking and moving forward. So the obstacles, and you see that like here it's raining and here it's cloudy, but it's not raining anymore. And moving out of sort of an arid landscape and into something that's more fruitful. And there's all these like movement that come out at the end. And these cards really echo this one here too, because you've got these 2, which is like pulling into oneself, retreating, And then this moves forward, right? Now, again, the key word is movement forward. It doesn't necessarily say by whom or in what case. But again, with the joy and the infinite abundance here, it seems to me that things are working in our favor. Let's get 3 cards. Oh, okay, that one really wants to come out. Again, with the 6 of Wands. You know, this is a victory parade right here. Let's get 2 more cards. Okay. Ask and it shall be done. Okay, the Fool again. This came up last week. The 8 of Wands. This came up last week also. And then we end on this 2 of Pentacles. So, I want more on this 2 of Pentacles. Can you explain what this 2 of Pentacles is, please? And a 2 and an 8. And that's a 28. Can you explain this 2 of Pentacles, please? Okay, so yeah, fighting. Or standing for what you believe in. A level up in terms of what you're battling for. We have a 6, a 7, and an 8 here. You know, so there's definitely somebody fighting for their victory. And this Fool here in the middle. Fool could go either way, as we've said in the past. Also because, so I'm actually going to read the Fool a little bit differently this time, because if we look at everything else in the reading, that's all going this way. And this, remember I said there's something you're overlooking, right? It's going in the wrong direction. Right? Everything else is going this way, and this guy's going backwards. Like the world spins forward, and this one's trying to go backwards. So that's kind of what it is. And this is, sorry to keep pulling in, you know, I don't usually like to do political readings, but it would be impossible to ignore what's happening right now. The mistake that, or the playbook that Putin's working off of is Peter the Great's, right? He wants to go back to history, to the way things were. And that is the downfall, right? That's the thing. It's like the world has moved forward since then. We're in a different position than we were before. You can't just walk back into the past with your eyes closed. And so that is also the message here for us, right? And that sword in the museum, the clarity over, getting clarity over the past and looking at the mistakes of the past or the steps of the past, what we did in the past to get us to where we are right now, and not making the same mistake to try and walk back into them, but to learn how to shift, you know, instead of trying to go back to a time when we felt safer and more protected and isolated, that this is actually a time of moving forward together, right? Moving forward, like finding your people, finding your connections, and moving forward together. That it is not a time for isolationism. But it's also not a time to go back to your past, right? Like, oh, I was better when I was doing this. It's not possible. It's time to move forward, and to ultimately it's like if you're confused, you may have to actually like fight for something. You may have to put down these things that you've been juggling and pick up a wand and fight for what you want, fight for what you believe in. Maybe someone is trying to take something from you, or someone is trying to have dominion over you or push you back into a position that you don't want to be in, and you don't know what to do. The answer is you've got to stand up and fight for yourself, or fight for this new level upon which you have risen to. So you may find yourself having to defend yourself against some choices that you've made, or whatever this new, like where you're moving forward to, you're gonna have to defend it. But what you cannot do is take the steps to walk back into a history, into a past, into a museum that no longer exists, because everything else in the universe is moving this way. And if you move forward in connection, right? That's that Mars and Venus. If you move forward in connection, you will find the joy. If you try to go backwards in isolation, you're going the wrong way, right? The world spins forward, and it's spinning forward. And if you allow yourself to take those next steps into whatever it is, your next level, then you will be rewarded. If you try and go backwards, it doesn't end well. Well, it's not that it doesn't end well. It's just that's not it. You're going the wrong way, right? Like everything's headed this way, and this fool is going to the past. And it can't, because all this energy is moving forward. So let's get some advice here. Actually, I'm going to do some Neptune advice, because Pisces is so heavy now. Sorry about my voice. My allergies have joined me again, the annual visit. Okay, interesting. Mirror. Who or what is triggering you, right? And this is also, like I was mentioning, like that being in the museum and studying the stories of the past and taking a good look into it. It's like, what are you reacting to and why? So really understanding, I mentioned this in the first minutes, understanding the past, your past, getting clarity about the past so that you can move forward away from it. Not making mistakes of the past is really the message here. Like, why do you feel any space in your life where you're trying to go back to the past? You need to ask why. Why don't you want to move forward? Why are you afraid of moving forward? What do you think the future holds? Like, what are you going back to? And then also knowing that it doesn't exist. But, in what's triggering you and making you want to shut down and isolate. Okay. Cards are very clear this week. All right, so this is the 7. It's called Sacred Play here. Angel Kaliel and Polychrome Jasper. Let's see what this has to say. So it says, we bring you the gift of sacred play. We enter your heart bringing joy, again, and an ability to have fun, to laugh, to see the silly and playful side of life, and to be entertained by the wonderful spectacle of life. When you know how to look, you will see the joyful hand of the Creator behind so many of the people, places, and things you see every day. You will begin to feel the Creator's delight in creation, and you will feel laughter deep in your soul. a joyful connection with the universe as you realize that even in its strange and sometimes dark mystery, life has a brightness and delight to it, a sense of humor and a quirky, amusing, enjoyable beauty. We know there is great joy inside of you, and we will help you reconnect with that joy now, so even your most arduous challenges will not diminish your capacity to feel the light of your spirit and take delight in life. All right, well, that's interesting. It also goes into like what I was saying at the beginning. Like if you're finding that you're getting stressed about this and it's causing you, tremendous anxiety or like to not think or to be worried, that you must step out of that energy space. It is very dangerous to be in that space right now for you, because it's going to mess with your whole body, with your head. It's a time to really stay centered and focused, like in you, in your body, and finding the joy in the everyday, as opposed to dwelling on the darkness that is around. Because as I said, like I really genuinely believe that this moment, which is so transformational, sometimes to build a new building, you got to burn the old one down. That is the same for systems. And so I do genuinely feel that on the other side of this is something more positive, despite the fact that we open Twitter and we're like, oh my God, humanity needs to die. We're so, like, all of this needs to end. I think it wakes up in us a feeling to connect with each other, to provide solidarity to people that need it. There's something actually quite beautiful that's happening at a human level here that I think we need to really embrace on our own level and also together with others. Anyway, hope this is helpful. Again, if you work in HR and you don't mind talking to me for 15 minutes, please let me know. Otherwise, have a lovely week, or as good a week as you can. And I will talk to you next Monday. Take care.